What's up, guys, and welcome back to Gabe Miller Music. Finally back with some making of videos. I have this one. This is for Skyhook, and then in a couple of days I'll have the one for Nothing Else Matters out as well. But this one's for Skyhook, so I'm going to start off with the drop, and I'm going to build it up piece by piece, and then I'll go into some of the individual elements. So here we go. And also we got the Wobble Bass in there, but I'll get to that in a second. So let's start with the drums. So let's start with the kick here. And here the kick is tuned to be within the key of the song so that the sub of the kick does not fight with the bass. And one thing that I tend to do a lot, is have LFO tool as basically a transient shaper. So this kick had a little more sustain than I needed it to. So here's what it sounded like before. And then here's after. Basically shorten it a bit and keep it short and punchy. So got that, and then an impact. Some kind of ambiance to keep it from feeling too empty. A white noise whoosh. Hi-hat. Snare. This is actually the same snare used in Autopilot. And once again, this is shifted forward just a couple milliseconds to drive the beat forward. And it's a very common technique used in progressive house. And then I've also got a second snare here. It's a completely different snare. So all together, here are the drums. And then in the second half of the drop, I add a few more. So I got an open hi-hat and another faster hi-hat. So that's... And also the clap, which also... So the thing about the drop, and the thing that I've found about progressive electro house drops in this style, is that the tendency is to want to layer a bunch of supersaws playing chords, and that actually typically doesn't result in a very clear drop. It's just this indistinct, mushy wall of sound. And to get it to be clear and defined and powerful, it's actually best to put the emphasis on the bass and the lead and have the chords be take the back seat a bit. So let me build this up piece by piece here. So start off with the lead. That's the one doing most of the work. So into the individual elements here. So this is the one doing most of the heavy lifting. A lot of these synths are in Nexus. You definitely don't need Nexus to recreate a lot of this stuff, but I just have it for the ease of finding sounds quickly. Layered with that. This one's a bit more distorted, a bit more dirty, and each of these sounds has a very distinct purpose, a reason for being there. My tendency, of course, at the beginning is just to layer a ridiculous amount of sounds and then have to go back and pare it down to only what needs to be there and actually has a purpose for being there. So these two layer together. Got a thing playing chords. And that's the main thing, playing the chords, providing some harmony. And then a couple of saws, and these are two slightly different patches, and they're panned left and right to provide some width. And so these are basically another lead, and so when you layer all three leads together, if you count these two as one lead, here's without the width. Adding some extra top end, some extra width. Then with the chords, and some more chords. and then finally the two basses. You can hear what I mean about the bass providing a lot of the power. And so that's two right here. There's a saw bass. And then this bass, which I've used in a couple of tracks as of now. This one's very heavily distorted and very heavy on the low end, very growly. And then in the second part of the drop, I add one other lead, and that is playing a harmony. So let me solo these two. So. And by itself. So that harmonizes with the main melody and creates some variation in the second part of the drop. And then finally, let's look at the Wobble Bass. So a lot of this is built from a combination of synthesis and samples. So here's the first bass sound. And that is, first of all, don't remember what it was. I think it was part of a loop that I chopped up significantly. It's basically unrecognizable from the original. And then layered with a couple of synths. Add a little more attack. And a little more low end to the stutter part. And then here we got another chop. Once again, basically an unrecognizable former loop. And then layered with that. Just a single growl. Then another single growl, this time in synthesis. So all together. And for figuring this stuff out, it's a lot of trial and error. I knew I wanted something in that vein, but to actually get it sounding like that, it just took a lot of messing around and moving stuff around until just browsing through sounds, tweaking stuff until I got something I was happy with. This one is, I believe, an Alchemy. And then layered with this. So together, they kind of interact with each other. And then this one is mostly a sample. Except I do have that corrected to be within the tempo of the song. So, that's it for the wubs. And then on the sum, I have quite a bit of processing as well. So that has some EQ. And then a lot of stuff to just mangle it, make it dirty. So let's go into the Super Saw section here. I'll show you what I layered in that, and I'll show you a couple other things, and then we'll call it good. So that's this. So going to each element. So we got saw up higher, a saw providing some mids, a pluck. It's mainly there for the attack that it's providing, a pluck bass. Once again, mostly for attack, although it is providing some tone. And then the same saw. And then this is, I believe it's the same patch, just processed very differently. I've got it through bass amp and some very, very, very heavy distortion. And that's providing a lot of the tone for the whole thing. So add the other bass, pluck bass. The mids. As you can hear, it still needs the high saw. So see, the high saw is providing a lot of the tone, but it's definitely not enough to pull the weight of what I needed it to accomplish. So hence all the layers. And then I have the lead automated in using high cut automation. So you can see that here. Bring it in slowly, so to transition from the super saw section into the drop. so that the switch from crazy wall of sound supersaws to much more focused, clear leads and bass emphasis isn't so abrupt. And then the other thing that helps that transition is some automation on the supersaw section. I've got both a high and low cut filter on the bus that they're all sent to, so you can hear that. And that also makes it so they get out of the way for the build elements, the risers and the snare builds. So, snare build. Riser. And a couple of white noise whooshes. And these both have high cut automation on them to bring them in exactly how I want them to come in, and same with this. So layer the two of these. Have the claps. And also I have a pad over here, as you can hear, and that's filling it out, any empty space, and adding a little bit of vibe and ambiance. And then everything drops out. You have a moment with only the bass boom. And so you have that little moment of silence to create some contrast, and then you launch into the drop. So that is it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this, found it helpful for your own productions. Don't forget to subscribe for more music and Audio Geek videos. I have a lot more music coming your way in 2016, some stuff I'm really excited about, experimenting with some other genres I haven't quite explored yet, so it's going to be dope. I'm Gabe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.